I have a question about Miles. Has he offered any sort of opinion on your work with Weather Report during that period?
Yeah, he did say
That was the only thing happening out
he
there.
wrote in a newspaper. He said the only thing that was happening out there was Weather Report.
Oh,
Oh, wow.
nice.
And he mentioned some pianos, like happening as a pianist is Herbie, Chick, a couple other pianists that, you know, who were band leaders and everything. That's the only thing happening when he was gone for the 6 years. 6 years. And he'd come to see us at the theater in New York. And people didn't know who he was. He'd come backstage, they didn't know who he was. And we said, hey, that's my, let Miles in, man, come on.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's crazy. Hey, you know, of your first round of solo work, like the Schizophrenia album, The Night Dreamer, All Seeing Eye, like my favorite is Juju, but can you talk about what the creative process was in doing your solo work? Because I would imagine that if you were in Miles's band, like I would imagine that I know some band leaders that were frowned on what they would call moonlighting, like doing your own solo work. So I always wanted to know how Miles felt about like you and Herbie, especially like doing your own solo work on the side at Blue Note while still being in this quintet. Like what was the practice regimen like? Like how you guys were so tight as a unit. How often would you guys practice as a band during that period?
You mean as a Miles Davis band or our own band?
Well, I mean, just like, I guess I'm asking, how are you able to, you know, maximize creativity with Miles Davis and also subsequently do your own solo stuff on the side?
I think Miles, he welcomed that it would shine on him. You know, it would, we do our own publicity, so to speak, which bounced off on the Miles Davis quintet.
Okay.
And it was like, we didn't have to call Miles to ask for a retainer while we were off, or when he was like in the hospital or something like that. We were like kind of self-sufficient in that way. And a lot of people wanted to play with the Miles Davis rhythm section. You know, they wanted to make records with the Miles Davis rhythm section, but the guys were like Herbie, and then there's McCoy. You had, in other words, you had the top guys doing things together, and it made it a little difficult for anyone to crash that, or tear it down, or speak against it. You know, wow, they got Elvin Jones. They got even Art Blakey played on one of my records, my first records, played the drum. So there was that give and take, respect built in. But then later, when people start counting the beans, the royalties, what sold and what didn't sell, and all that, there was an effort, I think, on the record company's part to break up any kind of alliance that we formed that they couldn't get their hands on.
Can't penetrate.
They kind of just were discouraging the buildup of like you'd be in Duke Ellington's band for life. But people starting a band from Duke Ellington's band or starting their own band from Count Basie, Erskine Hawkins and all that, they were together almost like a life sentence. You
Mhm.
know, there was no.
Life sentence.
They're the only ones people who graduated in a sense would be like if you went into the movies like tap dancers
Mhm.
and or the vocalists. Yeah, have you seen Ella Fitzgerald's documentary
Yes,
No.
I have. Yes, it's
where
amazing.
she became the band leader?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Another one to add to the list.